become. And you flow out of it into something new. Just like the atom, in the engram within the atom. It follows the same path back and forth until it becomes bored with it. It evolves out of it, like the deer on the mountain. Follows the same path back and forth until it becomes bored with it, until it takes a new path.
Is that when the hunter gets it?
Not unless it's deer season. Other questions?
You said we were in 365 on the cylinder. Does that have anything to do with, we have 365 days in the year?
Yeah, it's just a guesstimation approximately. Everybody's at a different state of evolution. Each individual is in a different state of evolution. We can look at people around us, we can see people who are more evolved than us, or we can see people who are not quite as evolved as us in their consciousness. And the consciousness, or the self within, is the engrams within your evolutionary soul that causes the manifestation of the type of body that you incarnate into in each eternity.
So does that mean that with the people that we have here in the room, some of us may be at 364 point so-and-so and 365 point...
Or some may be at almost a 377. It doesn't... I wouldn't
mean because we are all here and now that we are all at that, let's say, 365.
Right, that's a mean average point. And
right.
So I wouldn't worry about the 365. I would just say generally that's where we are in evolution, this universe.
Right, but
someplace between 233 and 377 in this planet, which is a farm planet, like I've said thousands of times before, is a planet where souls are farmed off of. And you are here on this planet as a growing soul. And as your soul reaches a particular state of evolution by becoming fulfilled with the things that take place on this planet, you evolve out to another planet with different types of things taking place on it. Yes?
Rather than believing this as a form of belief and allowing to understand it as a philosophy, how does one experience its reality?
Through the meditations that allow one to resonate on this vibration or this harmonic resonation of phi, you experience it. It talks back to you. It shows itself to you totally within nature. And that comes through submission to it, through work, through meditation.
I guess all this helps to detach ourselves from the material plane more and more as we continue through this process, so that through the detachment we grow fulfilled with what's going on in this relative state, and so we can go on to a higher consciousness, and that's part of the evolutionary. That's sort of like what it is with the cylinder. You go on to another state.
Right, a different state.
And that's what you're trying to teach us here to do.
You talked about mummification. So to go on to 377 or beyond 365, that's one of the ways in this through mummification?
That's the only way.
Or the only way?
To allow one soul to break the bonds of the universes between 233 and 377, one needs to evolve out of polarity. And to evolve out of polarity, you cannot collapse the polarity by taking something out of it. And so mummification takes place, which was spoken of in the East, where the identity would be held within the absolute, or this engram of what you are is held within the absolute to fulfill the energy state of those eternities. But the identity that evolves on continues to grow and goes beyond the old identity.
Now, how could it take
engrams on with it if they're left
It-
mummified.
It duplicates it. It's like duplicating a tape or a sound. And you take the first tract off of a recording, or take a recording and make it the first tract of a tape. And then you duplicate it. And then you add to it as it evolves on, and add a second tract, and then a third tract, a fourth, fifth, sixth, to an infinite number of tracts to continue to grow with this identity, just exactly like took place with it here at the source.
The history that we have of mummies would tend to disagree with this philosophy for this presentation. And what is it that they're not? What is the part of all the discoveries they have made and what they have conjured? What is it that they are overlooking that doesn't allow them to see this?
I don't know what exactly you mean by it would disagree with it. I don't think it disagrees with it.
Well, they tend to, in all the information that I have come across, they tend to say that in this time period, in the Egyptian time period, when the ancients built the pyramids and mummified themselves, they did it for preserving their bodies to come back into their bodies at another point in time. And doesn't say anything about this. If this philosophy has something to do with their originality, why is it that the history men don't have this?
The history does have this philosophy in it. I think you've been watching too many mummy movies on TV. What's taken place is they've taken a line, let's just say, out of the hieroglyphs that said there's an energy state that will cause you problems if you mess with the seals of this mummy. And they've made their own stories from there. But if you look through the hieroglyphs and you read the writings of the Egyptian Book of the Dead and the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and the story is in it. This is where the story is recorded. And so, just because some of our TV producers have dropped a line off of one of the Egyptian writings on a later dynasty Egyptian mummy and made a mummy movie out of it, doesn't really mean that's what science knows about why the mummies were made. I don't want to get into the lecture on mummification right now. We'll talk about that at another time, but all of those answers are explained in that lecture. Why don't we close for now unless anybody else has another question? Okay?
Corky, just one question.
Yeah.
Is this the first time since ancient time? Is this the first time in the cylinder of time that this mummification will take place?
No, it's been going on totally through the cylinder of evolutionary absolute time. A duplication of the identity. You see it in duplication of the lower species, like the atom stuff, are duplicated identically. One oxygen atom is exactly like, our molecule is like another oxygen molecule. Why? It's a duplication process that takes place. And it came from a hydrogen form through evolution. They're identical. A duplication takes place for a particular reason. And then some of those oxygen molecules bond with hydrogen and form water. And so they transform themselves into a larger substance. It's within nature. All the answers are within nature. All you have to do is look at it.
Repeats itself, the message or the code.
Exactly, and DNA does the exact same thing, repeats itself or duplicates itself. An alpha helix unwinds itself and wraps up and duplicates another one and builds a structure. And then a mutation takes place and something is added to it and something larger and greater beyond happens.
Well, they're already cloning. I mean, that's going on already.
Uh-huh.
Duplication.
I
Right.
guess I was talking about mummification or duplication of a higher source or a higher being, such as a human being, more than like an amoeba or an atom. Or
Yeah, and that's taken place. It's written in the hieroglyphs. It's talked about this has happened. We're just dealing with a small portion of a few billions of years here. This is a thing that's been going on, has no beginning and no end. And it's just, to us, it seems like it has a beginning and end because we're involved in it at a particular state and point in time, which we think is fairly relevant, which really isn't very relevant. And so it's nothing new, it just is. Okay? Thank you.